landscape and between like property or land. So yeah, you've done a great job. Okay, let me get on questions here. And text here. Perfect. Okay, beautiful.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I was going to say the same to you. Did you have a nice weekend?
Yeah.
That's good. Welcome, welcome. And as you guys are coming in, we've got instructions up on our screen. We got all our papers on the counter. We'll get started. Welcome, welcome. Good afternoon.
I was wondering where you Charger? I don't like going up here without my phone charger. You want to hold my folder? Miss Van Beck, is it okay if you want to hold my folder?
Oh, yes, for sure.
No. You want to hold my house key?
Just make sure it's the one that's for the light.
There's nothing out there.
So you can see this is a
Ask me to borrow it
door
for a sec.
front of the room.
No, sorry, down
So,
third column.
the only seats that I really got open are kind of out this front.
You know I don't like people.
Here.
I don't like talking to people.
know that I do
There's also
have,
one up there.
I was moving back to this spot with advance. Kind of where you were sitting before. I was trying to move it into a new table. So you get a perspective on my questions for the audit. Would that be a benefit?
Very typical.
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Stay away right now.
So across the
You.
So the short. Or with the red. I think it's where I was sitting. So the red chair. No, they're not. Her stuff is just right across. You can ask her. All right. Just a second.
It's because we're going on a field trip to say you weren't here the last 2 days, but
Yes, on Thursday and Friday I was not here.
thank you. Is there
So,
any
it's all
notes?
all of our assignments will be on Canvas, but same as always. Thank you.
Okay.
There should be whites in the yellow packet that's up on the front table right in there. Yes. Oh, that's our fun little spots. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Okay. All right, if you have not already, make sure you're following our instructions up on the screen. We've got our quick rate on the board in the back. We'll talk about it in just a minute.
Good afternoon, Emerson High School. This is your Senior External Vice President, Julian Hampton. Today marks the official practice of the girls' swim season, so if you are interested, please make sure to stop by the pool room to speak with Ms. Richardson. That's all I have for you guys today, and always remember, forever proud, forever strong, forever Indian.
Hello, everyone. So, I am going to be teaching today's lesson. We all should have already a copy of Nature from the side table and have at least gotten the material for a quick writing prompt. So you can either do it on paper or digitally. If you're doing it on paper, we have loose leaf over there. If you're doing it digitally, we have Canvas. So you're gonna have 5 minutes to complete that. Let's look at the prompts real quick. So we are going to today be reading sections from an essay by Ralph Waldo Emerson. He also wrote a lot of other things, including the following quotes from various essays and poems. First quote, adopt the pace of nature, her secret is patience. Second quote, the earth laughs in flowers. Third quote, live in the sunshine, swim in the sea, drink the wild air. So based on all of those quotes together, all three of those quotes, what can you infer about Emerson's opinion of the natural world and what he wanted out of life? And then you need to explain your reasoning. So this should be 3 to 6 complete sentences. Based on the 3 quotes that we have there, what can you learn about Emerson's opinion on the natural world and what he wanted out of life? You're going to have 5 minutes to complete that, and then we're going to look at a reading.
About his perspective. Is it a positive perspective? Is it negative? What does he seem to care about? What does he want to do with his actions? And you're working on a quick read.
We're going to take 2 more minutes to work on our quick write. You need 3 to 6 complete sentences. Whoever has music coming out of their phone, turn it off. That would be much appreciated. All right, 1 more minute, and then we're going to look at the essay. Wrap up your final thoughts, and we're going to turn in our quick writes either on Canvas or into the trays, and we are going to get our worksheets for nature. So there are physical copies available at the side table, Or as usual, there are also digital copies available on Canvas. You can do whichever you prefer. You just need at least one. So we're going to be turning in our quick writes, and then we are going to be getting a copy of the worksheet.
We're looking for at least 3 sentences, but once you are finished with your idea, you can bring that to our turn-in tray. Make sure your name is on your paper too.
Everyone needs to have a copy of the worksheet. All right. Are we about good? Does anybody need more time? Does anybody need more time? All right.
So the question for Karen is there, otherwise your name on it. Yes. Do our questions on, that's our text we're going to read through, but we need a copy of our questions.
Where's the question?
Okay, so let's get started. We are going to be reading various sections of the larger essay, Nature, by Ralph Waldo Emerson. I know that on Thursday and possibly Friday, you read some biographical information about Emerson. Who can tell me something about Emerson?
He writes poetry. He writes poetry.
Yes. Poetry was one of the things that he wrote. He was a very prolific author. Whoa. Yeah, okay. He was a very prolific author. He wrote poetry, he wrote essays, he gave speeches. That's a good one. Do you have another thing about
I went to
Emerson?
school at Harvard.
He went to school at Harvard. Very impressive. And to me, that indicates that he was highly educated and that he was intelligent. All right, do we know anything else about Emerson? All right. Does anybody remember what job or jobs Emerson had before he became a writer? Yes. Right. He was a headmaster at a girls' school, which is very similar to a teacher. He also had some time as a preacher of a Unitarian church, which is a sect of Christianity. He had a falling out with Unitarianism after his first wife died. And that's something that it maybe will connect a little bit to what we're going to be reading. His dissatisfaction with organized religion. All right, so I am going to be reading this essay out loud, and your job is to follow along on your printed versions as I do so. I know it's going to be kind of complex, but don't worry, we're going to get through it. I'm going to walk you through all the different aspects. And I will tell you when to work on the various questions of the worksheet. Okay, that all make sense? Lovely. Okay. So, Nature by Ralph Waldo Emerson. To go into solitude, a man needs to retire as much from his chamber as from society. I am not solitary whilst I read and write, though nobody is with me. But if a man would be alone, let him look at the stars. The rays that come from those heavenly worlds, which separate between him and what he touches. One might think that atmosphere was made transparent with its design to give man, in the heavenly bodies, the perpetual presence of the sublime. seen in the streets of the city, how great they are. If the star should appear one night in 1,000 years, how would men believe and adore and preserve for many generations the remembrance of the city of God which had been shown? But every night come out these envoys of beauty and light the universe with their admonishing smile. All right. So, Emerson starts off this essay by explaining what his ultimate goal is. All right? Did anybody happen to catch it? That's right. It is in the first sentence. It's the first thing that he mentions. His goal with this essay is to describe how to go into solitude. Does that word sound familiar? Has anybody heard the word solitude before by raise of hands? I'm seeing head nods. All right, all right. Is anybody willing to give a definition for solitude? Okay. All right. What's that? Sorry if I heard someone. Okay. So, solitude is being completely alone. Completely and utterly alone. Emerson wants to go a step above that. He doesn't just want to be away from people, he wants to be away from the creations of people, which would include reading and writing. How does he plan on doing that?
Isolating himself?
Isolating himself, exactly. And where does he isolate himself? In the country. He isolates himself in the country, and while he's there, he looks up at the stars. But if a man would be alone, let him look at the stars. So not only is he physically separated from other people, but he is not around the creations of other people. But why the stars does he focus on specifically? What is special about the stars?
You're not able to see them because of the light pollution.
Right.
It covers or it doesn't let us see actual stars.
That is a really good point. So he mentions, seen in the streets of the city, how great they are. Now, we live in a different time than Emerson. For him, light pollution was only beginning to be a thing. Cities were starting to become larger and have electric lights. For us, light pollution, if you live near any kind of populated area, will basically completely block out the stars. So he makes a point of talking about how incredible it would be to see the stars in a city. How much more incredible would that be for us if you went outside of your house one day and there was just a blanket of stars? That would be incredible. But he uses a specific word for it. He uses the word sublime. That is kind of an old-fashioned word, kind of a complicated word. I'll be impressed if anybody's heard of it before by raise of hands. Yeah? Do you know the definition?
It's not a definition, but it's like sky blue.
Right, is it?
It's like, basically like, it's like, what's under what it actually is, like a whisper or something. It's not like telling you directly or indirectly, it's just slowly creeping into like what's
I think like subliminal.
Right. So I think the word you might be thinking of is subliminal, which is very similar. I believe it actually has the same root. If something is sublime, that means it is so incredibly beautiful that it inspires awe. It almost makes you uncomfortable. It's so beautiful. It shakes your soul. And he's saying that's what the stars are like. So, we talked about how we appreciate the stars more because we don't always see them. he argues in this paragraph that we have become desensitized to nature. When we're around it all of the time, we don't always recognize how incredible it is. All right, let's move on to the next paragraph. I know we talked a lot about that one, it's because it sets up a lot of important things for the essay. There we go. All right. The stars awaken a certain reverence, but though always present, they are inaccessible. But all natural objects make a kindred impression when the mind is open to their influence. Nature never wears a mean appearance. Neither does the wisest man extort her secret and lose his curiosity by finding out all her perfection. Nature never becomes a toy to a wise spirit. The flowers, the animals, the mountains reflected the wisdom of his best hour, as much as they have delighted the simplicity of his childhood. All right, so previously, Emerson talked about that the idea that nature, including the stars, are something that's special. And he builds on that idea in this paragraph. What is the reason he gives for why nature is special to him? Let's look at neither does the wisest man extort her secret and lose his curiosity by finding out all of her perfection. What does he mean when he says that? Neither does the wisest man extort her secret and lose his curiosity by finding out all her perfection. What does Emerson mean by that? So, exactly, thank you. All right, so he's saying that nature inspires curiosity that doesn't go away. It has an enduring mystery to it. Even the wisest man will never get it completely figured out. But at the same time, nature also has a simplicity to it, such that even a child can appreciate it. So if we look at question number 1 on the worksheet, describe how Emerson feels about stars using text evidence. Why does he believe that most people do not feel the same way? Answer in at least 2 complete sentences. So you need to state how Emerson feels about the stars, and you need to state his explanation for why most people don't feel the same way all of the time. And you need to have text evidence in your answer. All right, we're going to take a few minutes to work on that, and then we're going to review. So in at least 2 sentences, we are describing how Emerson feels about the stars and why he believes most people don't feel the same way. And we are giving our answer using text evidence. Alright, we're going to take one more minute to complete our answer, and then we are going to continue on with the essay. Alright, let's look to paragraph number 3. When we speak of nature in this manner, we have a distinct but most poetical sense in the mind. We mean the integrity of impression made by manifold natural objects. It is this which distinguishes the stick of timber of the woodcutter from the tree of the poet. The charming landscape which I saw this morning is indubitably made up of some 20 or 30 farms. Miller owns this field, Locke that, and Manning the woodland beyond. But none of them owns the landscape. There is a property in the horizon which no man has, but he whose eye can integrate all the parts, that is, the poet. This is the best part of these men's farms, yet to this their warranty deeds give no title. All right. So, in the second paragraph, Emerson gave one reason for why nature is so incredible. He talked about how it has an enduring mystery. He gives another reason for why nature is so incredible in this paragraph. Can anybody identify it?
The stuff that nature provides us.
The stuff that nature provides us. That is something that's incredible about nature. It's not something he focuses on too much in this section. Although, actually, I will say, he does talk about how nature provides beautiful views. That is something that he values. What else does he talk about in this paragraph? Think about the story that he tells about walking across the landscape and seeing what's there.
He explains how peaceful it is to coexist with nature, and how the views and the trees, the flowers, and everything else that's intertwined with nature can give you a sense of peace or comfort.
Yes, he definitely talks about how all of those things come together to create something that's wonderful. He refers to it in this section as the landscape. So he talks about how normally people think about nature in terms of how you can own it. Miller owns this field, Locke that, and Manning the woodland beyond. But from his perspective, nature is too vast to actually own. We live relatively close to farmland. If you're driving by a whole host of farm plots just in your car, can you immediately tell where one begins and another ends?
No.
Right. Probably not, unless, I don't know, they switch crops or something weird like that. But there is a unity to it that our property lines cannot separate. So, he appreciates nature because of its mystery. He appreciates nature because of its vastness. Let's look at what else. To speak truly, few adult persons can see nature. Most persons do not see the sun. At least they have a very superficial seeing. The sun illuminates only the eye of the man, but shines into the eye and the heart of the child. The lover of nature is he whose inward and outward senses are still truly adjusted to each other, who has retained the spirit of infancy even into the era of manhood. His intercourse with heaven and earth become part of his daily food. In the presence of nature, a wild delight runs through the man, in spite of real sorrows. Nature says, "He is my creature, and moderate all his impertinent griefs. He shall be glad with me." Not the sun or the summer alone, but every hour and season the mind yields its tribute of delight. For every hour and change corresponds to and authorizes a different state of the mind, from breathless noon to grimmest midnight. Nature is a setting that fits equally well a comic or a mourning piece. In good health, the air is a cordial of incredible virtue. All right. So I know that on Thursday you did a quick write. And the prompt for that quick write was to think about a time when the setting you are in or the weather around you reflected what you were feeling on the inside. Does everybody remember that? All right. So Emerson is describing a very similar feeling. He talks about how every hour and season the mind yields its tribute of delight. For every hour and change corresponds to and authorizes a different state of mind, from breathless noon to grimmest midnight. Nature is a setting that fits equally well a comic or a mourning piece. This is an idea that he'll talk more about later, but he sees nature as something that reflects what you're feeling on the inside. And he also does something interesting in this paragraph that he hasn't done so far in the essay. Let's look at this line. Nature says, "He is my creature." Does anybody know what's special about that line?
Think about what figurative language he's using.
Like a spirit.
What?
Like a spirit.
Right, he's referring to nature in terms of it being a spirit. He is employing personification. This is the first time that he's done this in the essay. Up until now, he's talked about nature in terms of description. But here, nature is doing something, and it is acting in a protecting role. He is my creature. So this strongly reflects the transcendental ideal of nature having a sacred spirit that you talked about on Monday. It is the idea that nature is something living, more than just the objects around you. So, with this spirit of wonder that he has about nature, let's quickly preview question number 2 before we read paragraphs 5 and 6, so that we know what to look out for. In this essay, Emerson offers his perspective on where a person can find a sense of comfort and protection. Where does he find it? All right, so that question will be answered in paragraphs 5 and 6. I want you to pay special attention to where he may be finding a sense of comfort or protection from nature. Right? Crossing a bare common, in snow puddles at twilight, under a cloud of sky, without having in my thoughts any occurrence of special good fortune, I have enjoyed a perfect exhilaration. I am glad to the brink of fear. In the woods, too, a man casts off his years, as the snake his sloth. And at what period soever in life is always a child. In the woods is perpetual youth. Within these plantations of God, a decorum and sanctity reign. A perennial festival is dressed, and the guest sees not how he should tire of them in 1,000 years. In the woods, we return to reason and faith. There I feel that nothing can befall me in life, no disgrace, no calamity leaving me my eyes, which nature cannot repair. Standing on the bare ground, my head bathed in the blithe air, and uplifted into infinite space, all mean egotism vanishes. I become a transparent eyeball. I am nothing. I see all. The currents of the universal being circulate through me. I am part or particle of God. The name of the nearest friend sounds then foreign and accidental. To be brothers, to be acquaintances, master or servant, is then a trifle and a disturbance. I am the lover of uncontained and immortal beauty. In the wilderness, I find something more dear and connate than in streets or villages. In the tranquil landscape, and especially in the distant line of the horizon, a man beholds somewhat as beautiful as his own nature. All right, so we got a lot of stuff going on there. But we were looking out for where he finds a sense of comfort or protection in this paragraph. Did anybody find an example? Can anybody point to a place in the paragraph where Emerson feels comforted or protected by nature? All right, so he lists several different ways in which he feels comforted and protected. Let's look first at in the woods, perpetual youth. What does he mean by that? What is perpetual youth? So he is saying that by being in nature, you have a sense of being young again, and that you'll be young forever. You never tire of it. So that's one thing that he finds comfort in nature. He also has a really interesting line. There I feel that nothing can befall me in life, no disgrace, no calamity, leaving me my eyes, which nature cannot repair. So if we think about the ideals of transcendentalism that we talked about, who can describe what idealism is? I know that you should be knowing this because you talked about it last Monday. We had a whole introduction to transcendentalism. Who can describe what idealism is? So idealism is the perspective that everything should be good and it will turn out good. It's not very practical. It's very optimistic. So in this sentence, Emerson is expressing the belief that whatever happens, if he's in nature, he knows it'll be okay. And let's look at why he believes that. He states, I am part or particle of God.
Could I use the restroom?
Within nature, he feels an incredible sense of belonging, of being part of something larger than himself. And by being part of that larger self, he doesn't have to worry about his individual concerns anymore. All right, let's look at paragraph 6, and then then we are going to try to answer number 2. The greatest delight which the fields and woods minister is the suggestion of an occult relation between man and vegetables. I am not alone and unacknowledged. They nod to me, and I to them. The waves of the boughs and the thorn is new to me and old. It takes me by surprise, and yet is not unknown. Its effect is like that of a higher thought or a better emotion coming over me. When I deemed I was thinking justly or doing right. So, in this paragraph, Emerson expands on his previous idea of being part of something larger, especially with this sentence. I am not alone and unacknowledged. Who here has felt alone or unacknowledged before? You don't have to raise your hand, but just think about it. I know I have. It's a very common emotion, part of being human. And I know it feels bad when you feel alone or unacknowledged. Emerson is saying that he does not feel alone or unacknowledged when he sees himself as part of a larger being of nature. So let's look at question number 2. In this essay, Emerson offers his perspective on where a person can find a sense of comfort and protection. Where does he find it? Explain your reasoning and compare his belief to the Puritans. Answer in at least 3 complete sentences. So when you are thinking about the Puritan perspective, Anne Bradstreet will probably be the most helpful, especially in her poem, Upon the Burning of My House. That gives a really good insight into what gives her a feeling of protection and comfort. So you need to do 2 things. You need to explain where Emerson finds his sense of comfort and protection, and you need to compare it to the Puritan belief in 3 sentences. We're not going to take as much time on this question because we have to get through the end of the end of the essay and our final questions, but get as much done as you can. Where does Emerson find comfort and protection, and how does that compare to the Puritan perspective? All right. Let us look at the final paragraph of the essay. Yet it is certain that the power to produce this delight does not reside in nature, but in man, or in harmony of both. It is necessary to use these pleasures with great temperance, for nature is not always tricked in holiday attire. But the same scene which yesterday breathed perfume and glittered as for the frolic of the nymphs is overspread with melancholy today. Nature always wears the colors of the spirit. To a man laboring under calamity, the heat of his own fire hath sadness in it. Then there is a kind of contempt of the landscape felt by him who has just lost by death a dear friend. The sky is less grand as it shuts down over less work in the population. All right, kind of a sad ending, but we see here a return to the previous idea that nature will reflect what you already have inside of you. He writes, nature always wears the colors of the spirit. So he is saying you cannot rely entirely on nature to magically make you feel all of these things. A lot of it comes from combining the presence of nature with what you have inside of yourself already. All right, So we are going to walk through questions 3 and 4 in the time we have remaining. So those are on the back side of your worksheet. And I would appreciate if everybody would read along with them. We still have time left in class, so we should all still be focused. All right, so number 3. Think back to the 5 major beliefs of the Transcendentalists. Nonconformity, self-reliance, free thought, idealism, and spiritual importance of nature. Pick 2 of these beliefs that you feel Emerson most displays in the essay Nature. Explain your reasoning with evidence from the essay. Answer in at least 4 complete sentences. Now, I would argue you could make a completely valid argument for any one of these 5 beliefs that it appears in an important way in the essay. What is critical is that you explain your reasoning. That's what's going to get you points here. All right? And number 4, briefly summarize Emerson's main idea in nature. Do you agree or disagree with his perspective? Do you believe that these ideas are still relevant today? Explain your reasoning. And this will be answered in at least 5 complete sentences. So think about the goal that we talked about in the essay that Emerson has. Think about how he tries to achieve that goal. Think about the beliefs that he states in the essay. And then think about whether you agree with them. And once again, make sure you explain your reasoning. We are going to spend most of the rest of the class time working on these 2 questions independently. If you do not finish them during class today, they will be due before class on Thursday? Or tomorrow, yeah. They will be due before class tomorrow.
Because we've got about 5 minutes left today, so that is enough time to get at least one of those questions answered. If you don't get to question 4, that is okay. We will have time tomorrow where we are not doing anything new. We will just work on finishing up our last question. Okay, so again, for question 3, you need some text evidence to help support. But question 4 is just your opinion. What do you think about his ideas? Okay. We'll take another 3 minutes to work on your last couple of questions, and then I do have an announcement before we're finished.
So I don't know how many you work together, but you need to make sure that your words are your own and your ideas are your own. Alright, so before we stand back, thanks for own announcement. On Wednesday, I am going to be teaching another lesson on a different essay by Emerson, Self-Reliance. And you're going to have a quick write at the beginning of that lesson. I'm going to give you a little preview of it so you can start ruminating on it. So, you need to think about an object, a place, or an action that you interact with so often that it has become basically invisible to you. So this could be something like walking, this could be your phone, this could be your bedroom, very wide open. I want you to take some time to step back and really consider it and all the part of your quick write for Wednesday. If you have your worksheet done, you can turn it in as a tray on Canvas. If you don't, it's due before class tomorrow and
Perfect. So as you're finishing up that last question, even if you are only on question 3, finish up your last idea. And you can bring your worksheet up to our turn-in tray. If you had a copy of our text, all of my classes have been sharing those today, so if you can make sure that gets back up to the counter so that my classes tomorrow can borrow them as well, that will be very helpful. If you borrowed a pencil, make sure it gets back up to the counter. Make sure your name is on your paper. Last thing in our last minute and a half, tomorrow is our PSAT day. So if I could have everybody's attention, I know phones are out, headphones are on. If I could have all eyes on me for just a moment so that I can make sure everyone gets this information, that will be very helpful. Okay? So tomorrow is PSAT day. Last Wednesday, you had the digital readiness during 6th period or during 2nd period to get familiar with that app or at least to log onto it. Tomorrow, you will need your school designated Chromebook, so if you do not bring that normally to school, be sure to charge it and bring it to school charged so that you are able to test tomorrow morning, okay? When you arrive at school, like it says up on my board there, you should be to your room by 7:30. I will be proctoring the test that is in the what is it called? The big room. We'll be in the Ox Gym or in the field house. Okay, I will be proctoring the test in the field house, so I might see you tomorrow. But that test will go until lunchtime, and if you are doing a normal length of test, if you go to D26 in the morning, usually you will come here instead. Okay, so make sure to bring your Chromebook and get to that location. Check your email for that location. If you're not sure where you should go, check your email. Yes. Have a great rest of your day, guys. I will see you tomorrow. But we'll have regular classes for the rest of the day. Okay. So, your class. I was going to say, just have a sent you an email, but there is also a list of papers over the big list over by the front office and also on the way down closer to like the.
I don't even know who I'm supposed to.